And welcome to another show of Don't Get This Twisted. I am Rob, along with my co-host, as always, Tina. How you doing, Tina?
I'm warm, Rob. I'm doing all right, but I'm very warm.
It is a tad bit warm here in Southern California. We have
pool water that is like after the tub, gets a little cooled off. That's what our pool feels like right now. So it's not cold, but it's not hot. It's like you could walk right into it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that normally doesn't happen until like August.
I went swimming at my friend's house the other day and it was still comfortable. Mm-hmm. But she doesn't have a thermometer in it. I think I was looking on Amazon to get her one so she could hang it on one of the posts just to kind of get an idea of what it is. But if like yours, if it keeps up, that's come August, that is not going to be pleasant to be hanging out in. And she doesn't have a pool heater, but it's in direct sun like yours. So
yeah, should
be fun.
We've been in it every day. My friends are coming over and they're taking the dip, even if I don't. But I was already in the pool today and did the basket weaving thing and saw a movie, went out to lunch. I was busy today.
Nice. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Not too shabby for the 4th of July weekend.
Oh, that's right. It still is.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, it's coming to an end.
Because we're having our kitchen remodeled, we didn't have a party. I took my dad out on the bike or the trike, and we went out to eat in Fillmore. Came back, and then I dropped him off with my brother, where he was having all of his friends over, the same people that come to our parties. So my dad stayed there with them, and I got in the pool. And when my friend came with me, she was there for a while. But as soon as the fireworks started, she left. So I got a beer and sat in an inner tube, and literally right above me were all kinds of fireworks shooting up into the air. I got some great pictures. There was debris in my pool, obviously, because that stuff lands right down where a couple pieces landed on my face even. But it was so cool to sit there by myself and watch all the fireworks. I didn't mind it at all.
Yeah, the next morning, I had to work. So when I went out to my car, there must have been a lot of fireworks displays by my house, like real ones, like big ones, because there was still smoke in the air.
Oh yeah, the air quality right now is still horrible.
Oh yeah,
and
mine
this
too.
Is Sunday after.
Yeah, where I live, it's to be fair, my air quality isn't very good anyway. Kind of like the valley, where it's really never the best.
Right.
You're just kind of like, oh yeah, that's right. The air quality here sucks balls. Actually, right now it's moderate, so it's not too bad, but it wasn't. I got like a bunch of, hey, just so you know, your air quality is going to suck over the next 2 days. It's like, awesome. Oh, yeah. So awesome.
We had it too. Let me see what they say. Oh, it's moderate here too, which means it's getting a little bit better.
Yeah. But the weather coming this week is, where I live, is all 90s. Every day's in the 90s, and Wednesday is 102. Okay,
so for us, every day is in the 90s, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we're at 102.
Wow. So you're going to be a little warmer than me.
Yep.
And I'm closer to the desert.
Yeah.
So, but you are in that little punch bowl that heats up real good. I bet you the other side of the valley, like Woodland Hills, is going to be horrid.
A scorcher.
Horrid. If it's 102 there, it'll be 106 or 7 in Woodland Hills. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. Good times. I miss working over there and delivering TVs in the heat. There was nothing better than that. I was young and I could take it. So,
yeah.
So this week we are going to talk the best places in the modern dating world to meet people. And I mean, to be fair, there's really only 2 that I would say are the biggest ones still.
What's that?
Bars, obviously. Clubs. Bars and clubs we'll throw together because I think it's kind of the same thing, although probably different people in each. So maybe we should put that into 2 different categories. Because I think a club is really a meat market, where a bar is just a semi meat market. Right. And then online dating, which is a whole other clusterfuck of madness and nonsense. And then I guess you could probably go to like the normal things, meeting through people, right? Friends,
Absolutely.
church. I think if you're religious, cat, that would be a good place, and probably meeting people that are more in your liking. And then, then out and about. I think, and out and about will be everything. Because I think if you're at supermarket, wherever, I mean, you can meet someone anywhere if you have the nuts to ask them. Me and the kid, we were at Chipotle the other day, and there's a girl who works there who is very, very attractive young lady. And he's like, oh, that girl's always here and blah, blah, blah. And I go, why don't you just say something to her? And look, coming from me, that's rich because I don't talk to people, and I would never walk up to somebody and just start hitting on them. But my boy's got a pretty good, he's got some confidence, but I even think that he's even kind of like, because we frequent this Chipotle. So I guess it would probably suck if she said no. But if he
could say yes,
but if he does it right, he could just be like, hey, are you single by any chance? Because I think if that's a good lead-in question for younger people too, because if she says no, then you can go, oh, okay, well, I just thought you were attractive and I was going to see if you would like to do something. Then you're not getting turned down. She's just telling you that she's already with somebody. Available. So that's a good lead-in. And I think that should be a good lead-in for most people, instead of saying, hey, can I get your number? Because I think that's just a whole other thing. So, but I think they all have like pitfalls, right? The club, although I don't frequent clubs, but I have been in them a few times when I was a little younger. Clubs have issues, I think, with, for one, noise, right? So you're really, you're going there to dance and to drink. So you're generally dancing, mostly girls, and they're generally dancing with each other or the gay guy. So, because most of the straight guys are all wallflowers and they're at a bar and they're just waiting for people to, come through. Generally, that would be my assessment. But they're loud. So it's really hard to really communicate with somebody. So, but you can, obviously. And then there's a bar, where I think a bar has its own issues. You drink a lot, you end up meeting somebody that's not the person that they really are. You're meeting the drunk version of them. And you can either end up going home with them and making a huge mistake, right? Or you end up giving your number to somebody who was fun at a bar until you realize who they are, and to start talking to them. And then it's back to square one. Or you end up going out on dates with them and really finding out they're just not for you, which again, all good, but probably not the best. Then there's online dating, which is its own monster, at least from what I've done. It's so impersonal to me. It's just like, yes, you text between people, but it's still very, it's like simple questions like, hey, how was your day? How's the weather? Blah, blah, blah. And then you end up going, hey, do you want to get coffee or dinner? Whatever it is. To me, a lot of them are just one and dones because, for one, at the time I was doing it, probably not emotionally available anyway. I was just doing it to do it, to kind of, fill time and get myself out and about, because at the time, the one person who said something to me is like, you need to start dating. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to try it because what the hell? But I think that it's just difficult, at least for a guy. And again, statistically speaking, women get way more.
Those are like pretty standard answers of places that you would go. And when, in the beginning, when I started dating, my friends and I were talking about, where do you meet people? Mm-hmm. Where do you go? And we came up with quite a fun list. Like, I have a friend whose husband is a contractor, and she said, there's a lot of contractors at Home Depot first thing in the morning. If you go early, you get the contractors, you get the bosses. If you go midday, you get the workers. You get the workers. If you go later on in the evening, you get home improvement people. So she had a whole she told me 3 different times a day you could go depending on what type of person you were looking for. One of my friends said she started working at a golf course, and the population, men to women, is really high. So she said to go and take up golf or hit a few balls or, whatever, go work.
That I can totally see. If you going to a golf range, again, now I'm going to play devil's advocate. If you have to realize you go to meet somebody there, they're going to be a golf enthusiast and they're going to spend time with their friends on a golf course all the time. So be careful what you wish for. You might just get it. Right. Which is good. Look, mostly if it's something that you're interested in, both of you, then it could be fun. And then you're going to grow something out of that. I just think that you have to be careful. It's like, hanging out at the Home Depot sounds really good on paper. You know what I mean? Where,
but it's not like nothing is foolproof. I mean, you could meet somebody in a bar. I've met several people in a bar, dated for whatever time, and then for whatever reason it moved on, or at a club. I mean, growing up, I was in clubs until I don't even know how old I was, 29. And I met several guys in a club and dated them for a significant amount of time. And then it was, over, but it's not impossible to meet in those places.
No,
but you need to be picky because, you could end up with a drunk that's,
that frequents the bar more than he should.
Or the golf enthusiast that is always on the golf course, or
exactly.
Also sporting events. I tell my friends, let's go to sporting events. You want to pick up on guys? Let's go. And they don't ever want to do that, but it's a smart idea.
I would say this. I would say more a bar on a sports day. You go to a bar on a Sunday where it's just football fans, the ratio of men to women is going to be very high on the men's side. But again, playing devil's advocate, you better be a sports fan.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, you're going to be getting into something. I'll give you an example, which is kind of humorous, but kind of not. So when I was with my wife, her first husband ruined, he's a big football fan. So he would always just kind of disappear on Sundays. And I was a football fan, but I wouldn't say I was huge. And if there was something going on, I could skip football and I would, my life wouldn't end. But she was very against watching football and sports until she got remarried after me. And this guy was a big football fan. And now she wears jerseys and they watch football on the weekends. It's almost humorous to me, to where I'm just like, okay, whatever, which is cool. I mean, if you're trying to fit in. But I asked my kid and I was like, what's the deal with that? And literally he goes, oh, because her new husband doesn't give a shit and he'll watch football and doesn't care what she thinks. And I was like, that makes more sense.
So if you can't beat him, join him.
Well, yeah, because at some point there's going to be the guy that goes, I don't give a shit. I'm watching football on Sundays. This is just the way it is. And you better get used to it.
I always liked watching sporting events because my dad and I always watched them together. So whether it be, I wasn't a fan of soccer though, but I do like rugby.
But keep going.
And I like hockey and I like football. Baseball's a little slow for me. I'm not going to lie.
Baseball is fun to go to.
And basketball is fun to go to.
See, I mean, I guess basketball to me it's not, because I like violent sports. Yeah. So I want to see people hitting each other and those guys flop around like dead fish. But the same with soccer. But baseball to me is more of like a fun event to go to, because you really can talk to each other while you're there, because it's slow. So you could be like, blah, blah, blah. And you can look at the pitch and then you can keep talking to, whatever you were talking about that time. So it's a little easier. Although for me, like, and again, this is going to sound absolutely horrible, but like going to Dodger Stadium, I'd rather slit my own wrists because it's just a horrible place to go. It's super dangerous now. No one gives a shit. There is minor league baseball in the Inland Empire. So I would say I would probably go there first because it's much more community.
Even like concerts.
Concerts are good, but again, you end up, it's so hard to have, it's a good time, but it's hard to talk. To me, it's like, those are later dates. Those are good dates to
meet people. If you're at a concert and there's a bunch of the opposite sex around, like, yeah, go and talk to them. It's not a date. You're picking up or you're getting to know people or trying to meet people.
You can, but like, man, again, I go to concerts where like it's so fucking loud that it wouldn't matter. But yes, I think in between bands or like we went to a festival and the kid over here, we go and we're in line, right? And we're do, you know, and I want to say he was maybe 14, maybe 15, tops 15. And he starts talking to this really cute girl in front of us who was like 4'11", like tiny. He dwarfed her. And he's like, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, hey, you want to hang out with us today? I was like, dude, what? And he's like, yeah, she can hang out with us. I'm like, well, how old are you? She's like, I'm 21. I was like, oh my God, dude, really? And they did. Her and like 2 other girls and 2 other dudes hung out with us like all day long at this festival. That's so funny. You can, I agree with you, in the right circumstances, like a festival would be fun because then you can meet people and there's tons of places to sit down and talk and you can get food in between bands. And then you can also hear bands from very far away, still kind of rock out to them and still communicate. Because I took a friend to a Warped Tour as well, who's, you know, close to our age. Actually, she's younger, but I took my kid and one of his friends, and it was if you got in for free if you were a parent. So I had my friend meet us there and say that she was mom and got a free pass. And me and her hung out together. And my boy and his friend went and watched other bands together as well. So I agree with you there. It was a really good time. And it was a really good way to really kind of get to know her because we walked around and like got a couple of drinks and listened to bands like really far away from the set where you could like hear the band and still communicate. So I'll agree with you there. Concert's good.
Or even my friend said she met her boyfriend in a tattoo parlor. That he was getting his first tattoo and she started talking to him and they dated. Yeah. I think like we came up with a lot. There was no shortage of places to meet people. I always say, you know, now that I have my trike, I'm like, you guys want to go meet somebody? Let's go to where there are guys on bikes so that way you could go and do that. Like, let's go, you know, I'll take you. I like to wingman for people. So when I go and do stuff like that, I'm like, hey.
I think that is, again, those are all good things. But again, you have to be up for the lifestyle. Like, to me, that's a lifestyle thing. Like you said, like you could go to a bar and meet an alcoholic. And mostly if they, you know, and then you realize they're bar hoppers and they always have been. And then you're like, fuck, and you're stuck. So yeah, I think you have to kind of be careful with that. Bars are a good place just because it's social. That's kind of like what I was talking about with church. Church is a social event. So like mostly before you go, there's always going to be people outside before everyone goes inside that you can talk with and say hello to. So, and if you're a regular to the church, it's going to be much easier, obviously, because you're going to frequently see the same people.
Or friends parties. That was another big one.
I think friends in general.
Yeah.
I mean, I've met several girlfriends in my lifetime through friends.
You met one through me.
Yeah. So I've met most of them. I was just telling somebody that the other day, like about dating. They're like, oh, you know, dating in the modern world. And I'm like, dating in the modern world, just dating in general, because I've never had to date. like real dates. I don't think I've ever been on like a real date, because everyone has always been introduced to me or through this or through work. I worked with a girl and then I quit the job, but we ended up getting together after that. So I already knew her. So it was easy. And I was poor a lot. So we had Netflix and chill before it even existed, because like I didn't have any money to go anywhere. So it was like, hey, if you want to hang out with us, and that's what ended up happening. So for me, I told this girl, I go, look, I have a list of dates to take you on, but I had to look them up on the internet. Mm-hmm. Like I had to and I was asking other friends of mine that are male, they're all married. I'm like, what would you do for a date? And they're like, this. And I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. Like, so I'm, as much as I would like to date this person, I'm kind of scared because I don't have dating experience. I have relationship experience, like a lot, but the dating thing is kind of scary. So I can see how it would be, difficult in general to date, but meeting people, if you're outgoing, you'll meet people. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can, but you definitely have to be bulletproof to rejection. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not, you're going to have a really bad time. And
I agree.
I saw something on the internet, on the interwebs, on the YouTubes, that was kind of interesting. It was these three girls, and they were going, and they were giving advice to other girls about, because, dating today or meeting people is so hard because men don't want to do it anymore. Because for one, they don't want rejection. Second, they don't want to be called the creepy guy. They don't want to end up on a TikTok, being filmed in a bar saying that this guy's a creepy guy. So like, I think men have it shitty, and women are doing it and then bitching about that there are no good men anymore. So this girl, I thought it was kind of a foolproof thing though. She goes, look, if a guy is staring at you, stare back at him. Don't smile at the same time. Stop, look at him, then smile, and then look away. So he sees that you made eye contact. The smile is the, hey, I saw you. And then she goes, and when you look away, keep smiling. And I was like, hey, that's kind of smart. Like I think that's good advice, because at least I would be much more apt to approach somebody if she looked me dead in the eye, gave me a smile, and then was still smiling, looking away. You might be a little more apt to go talk to them.
See, and I would take that one step further and just look at him and go, hi. Like,
yeah, but I think this was more, maybe you're across the bar from each other, not in close proximity. But they were giving like good advice. The other advice was like, let's say you're at a bar that's for sports, and let's say it's boxing, because this really happened. This is Matthew Hussey, the guy's book that I wrote. His current wife, when they met at a bar watching boxing, and she walked up after us a look at each other, I guess multiple times during the night. She came up to him and was like, oh, so who do you want to win? That was it. That was the opening line. And then, of course, then he felt compelled, because she said something to him to open the conversation up. And part of that was, for women out there, I think, don't be afraid to open up the conversation with men. We're in such a different time where men are scared, right? Women still want the chase, though. They want to be courted, which I think they should. So where's the middle ground of that? Because bars are going to be problems. There's problems with the where to, and then if you're there, the how to. Because men don't want to approach, but women still want them to, right? Well,
you could still do the whole like Starbucks. You could do the whole, if you want to date a single dad, go to where, dads take kids on the weekends.
Parks.
Parks. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Water parks, for sure. Parks.
Yeah. I would say the mall, but they don't have those anymore, right?
Well, they have mall, but that's more for a guy to meet a girl. That changes the numbers,
I mean, I used to go there. when my kid was little, and I mean an infant, like he was 7 months old, I used to walk through the mall because I was off during that time period. I took that 6 months off. I used to have women, I mean, just, like they were all over me.
Well, yeah,
I was married.
Either a dog or a kid, that ups your chances too, for sure. You got to have one or the other.
But do you think that these places that we're talking about, like what would you, if you were going to tell your friend one place, both male and female, I'm going to give you both sides of it. What if you said, here's my surefire place? What would you tell either sex?
The beach.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
To meet somebody.
Have you been to the beach in California in the summer and seen, like, you walk the beach and you see thousands of people?
Yeah.
If you don't have enough numbers there and you see what everybody's packing, right? You know what's going on at that point. So
and truly, I mean, it is California, but you're probably, and this is going to sound horrible, and I don't mean it to sound really bad, but I think you're more apt to see a more natural looking girl too. Way less makeup. Way, like I always tell my friends, once you meet somebody and you get to know them well, the best first date idea is a camping trip.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going to see that girl with no makeup on, carrying her shit to the shower, like dirty feet. You're going to see her in the worst possible scenario. And if you can fall for her in that scenario, you're probably doing all right.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of, I'll have to go with you with that. The beach is kind of good because you're going to see, both of you are going to see the package is less clothed as you can get, legally.
Yep.
You're going to see them both with generally messy hair that's dried in the sun and going every which way but loose because you've been in the water or whatever. You're going to see them with obviously no makeup on, or at least a little bit less makeup. It is California. There's probably going to be girls there with full faces on, at least for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pretty good. And you're also going to see them probably in a scenario of like, eating a bag of chips with a soda, on the sand, where it's not this. Yeah, with a hat on. It's
like
you're
Pismo. You talk to so many people when you go to Pismo Beach. Like everybody's like, "Oh, your rig is cool," or "Oh, what are you driving?" Or everybody's got something to talk about at Pismo, and everybody's drinking, so it's easy to approach people. I would say give that a shot.
That I'm going to have to go with you now. You kind of sold me on that one because I do think that there is something about that.
If you don't live in California, go to where there's a lake. Go to where there's,
I will say that for sure for my friends in Iowa. Way, way back when I was visiting, that's where they go.
Mm-hmm.
They go to the lake. They don't call it the lake, though. I
just go to where everybody is.
Yeah. But I think that those are less, I don't want to say less social events, but I think when you're at the lake, it's a social event, but it's more open. It's more like everyone's just there to chill. At a bar, people are still, bars are still places that people are the wolf and they're going there to get laid. Let's be honest.
Or drunk. I mean, one or the other.
But they walk hand in hand sometimes. And the same with a club. And I'm not saying that that's the only thing. Obviously, if you go to a bar, you're going there to get drunk and watch sports or whatever it is. Because there's a sports bar right next to me. That when you walk in there, there's always TVs on and there's tons of people watching the game and drinking. But the lake and the river and the beach are more like hangout things where people are just there to chill, hang out with their friends, and you can meet people.
Mm-hmm.
I think you might have closed me on that one, Tina. That's kind of
where they all go tailgating before the sporting events. Man, I talk to everybody when I've gone to tailgate with people waiting for a game to start, like college football or something. Everybody's out there. Well, that's what we used to do. Not anymore. But there's so many places.
I think that, yeah. And look, the ones that we're talking about that are the norm, obviously, like I said, bar, club, online. The online is just setting up a date. Like, that's not meeting someone. It's meeting someone through the option of a date.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if you match on an online thing, the first thing you're going to do is not be like, hey man, do you want to meet at the car show? Like that, or whatever it is. That's not
car shows is another place to meet guys.
If you're into cars.
Normally they're car poor because they put every bit of money into their car.
But on the flip side, you better be into cars because that's their.
No, not when you're a girl. You don't have to be into shit. All you have to do is get their attention. It doesn't matter why you're anywhere.
No, but you better be into that kind of thing because the people who are at those are car people. What I'm saying is that like hobbyist type things sound good on paper until you're going there and then you realize that cars are this guy's life and that's all he wants to do. So every weekend there's car show and you're like, really? Another one? So I think that hobbies sound good and they can be if you're both into it. If you're both into it, then it doesn't matter because... Or
even bookstores. Bookstores...
Yeah. Guys can't read.
They get so stinking busy. Guys can't read. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
what?
Men can't read.
They better be able to read. Otherwise, I wouldn't want anything to do with them.
I mean, men can read, obviously, but we're the less...
they go to an adult bookstore. There you go.
No.
There's
but
so
I do.
Many places.
There are. I mean, every place is a place to meet someone. If we're being honest.
How about a karaoke lounge?
Yeah, but again, I think you end up in a bar. You know what I mean?
A little bit different, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, because people have way less social anxiety. If you're up there singing. Because like I've never
everybody.
I've been there was one in Ventura that was a Asian restaurant, up until 9:00. And then there was like this, I mean, really big karaoke floor. And it was big. And I mean big. And I was like, I walked in and was like, they do karaoke in this place. And it was like, it probably held 85 people, just the karaoke part. Like it was big. And it was fun to watch people because I can't sing. I was like, they would put me down if they got like someone would shoot me with a tranquilizer because I can't sing. But it was, you are right. It is fun. And I think you're meeting people who are generally very socially outgoing in that atmosphere. Because you have to be. And if you're the singer, then, it's all good. But I do have to kind of agree with you now that every place is a place to meet somebody. That to be very honest, you could be in the supermarket next door. And if you have the gumption and you see a pretty guy or a good looking guy or a pretty girl, and you walk up to him, you can strike up a conversation. I just think now the social atmosphere is very damaging to men. I think men are going to be way less likely to do it. I heard something. The statistics are by 2030, over 50% of women will be single. And you guys outnumber us, not by a ton, but there are more women in at least in America. I don't know about all over, but I think on the globe, you guys outnumber us. So if there's 50% women that are single, men are going to be at 46%. We're talking about half of the United States that won't be in a relationship with anybody. That's bonkers. Like where have we gone wrong? And I think there's we can argue both sides of it. I think, like I said, I think men are also just over it. They're over the independent woman who doesn't need a man. So I think men now are just like, all right, bye. And I've been watching these videos. It's on YouTube. It's a bunch of, basically it's these guys who put on TikTok women of them complaining about being no good men anymore, or, whatever. And these women are just like, there's no good men anymore. And they don't approach us and they don't do this. And it's, well, and this one guy is like, it's your fault. You asked for this. You wanted to be independent. You don't need no man. And now they're bitching that no men are approaching him. Well, how do we get back to that? Because I think it's going to be a very large problem. Probably not in our age group, at least the approaching part, right? The getting out part and doing it is the whole other problem, because we're going to be less likely to go hang out in bars all the time and that kind of thing. But my son, his generation are in one thing I heard that was kind of surprising of his generation, which is he's Gen Z, right? Yes, he's Gen Z. There's so many of them. I know we went over that on another show, but
we did, but I don't remember the cutoffs.
It's Gen X, Millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha. That's like the young kids. So his generation, his age group of males is now heavily leaning conservative, right? So they're now going this way. The women who are all of college age are now leaning heavily liberal. So the generations are going in two different pathways. And with the social climate the way it is, there's no liberal woman that's going to date a conservative man. So
they will if their clocks are ticking.
Well, yes, but what they said is that any of the women who are leaning conservative, to them it's going to be like fishing in a barrel. They're going to have the pick of the litter because there's going to be like 5 men for every one conservative woman. So like finding a mate, if you're a conservative female, is going to be very easy in the next 5 years because most people are leaning that direction. Then the clock is ticking.
And then I've noticed that people meet on social media all the time. Like I've got people, I do not advertise that I'm single, married, anything on my social media. But I got to tell you, I got people just wanting to get to know me or saying that I had one just today that said, hey, did you go to Ohio State? And I said, no, I never left the state of California. And he goes, oh, I thought I went to school with you. And I'm like, no, but good luck finding your person. And then he's like, well, we could get to know each other. And I'm like, no, thanks.
Yeah.
I just cut it off. No, thanks. I don't know you. I'm not going to talk to you on social media. Like that to me, well, and I do a podcast. So really, what am I saving myself from? It's just kind of, I wasn't looking for that. And I don't want to deal with that on my social media.
That's a little different.
My media is pretty private.
Doing a podcast and talking about certain things is different than talking to a real human somewhere else.
Right.
Like for me, I'm a paper thin away from deleting all my social media. I'm so over it. If it wasn't for promoting this show, I'm ready. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to see the nonsense that's on there. I'm ready to like really kind of shut that out. I've deleted every dating app that you can have. All of them gone.
Oof. Right on.
Because I have no desire to get into that. My friend down the street, she decided to do it, and in 2 days decided to get away from it. 2 days. Because I mean, she's attractive. So she had like a ton of messages, and it was just like, it was too much for her. She's like, I can't stand this. She ended up meeting some guy during her lunch break that turned sideways way too quickly. So she was like, had to tell him to go away. And she's like, nope, I don't want to do this. So I can see how you can get a bad taste in your mouth on both sides of online dating. For me, it's very difficult for a guy. Women get 95% of the hits. If you're not in the top 1% of men, you're probably not getting many likes. So, and then if you are, they're probably not what you're looking for. So then you're also now getting likes that you're like, oh, this isn't what I want. So to me, it's nonsensical. Like I'm out of that pool. I don't, the online dating pool is like jumping into, a river in Louisiana. You just don't know what the fuck's in there and if it's going to kill you or not. So I'm done with that. I'm done with social media. So those are definitely not places that I'll ever meet someone, because I've had my issues with social media over the years of meeting people that we knew from high school that got me into other messes. And I'm not even saying bad ones, just, ones that you look before social media. When you left high school, you never talked to people ever again. If you didn't live in the same town or you moved out of state, you just never talked to people from high school ever again. Mm-hmm. We're kind of the first generation to be like AOL, right? You could talk with people. Then MySpace, and then that opened up, and then Facebook opened, and then the floodgates opened. And that's how I re-met a bunch of people. So, and then that's how I re-met my friend down the street. I downloaded Snapchat and she happened to be on it and we started talking. So I'm not saying that it's all bad, but it's definitely, it can poison the well very easily. So my thing is, if let's say you get into a relationship, the best thing you can do if you get into a relationship is delete all social media. Because then you're less likely to have anyone, fishing through direct messages, and
that's true.
The less,
and really all it is it's a time blower. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like all social media does, you're just sitting there blowing time.
Yeah. It's doom scrolling. That's what they call it. It's just keep scrolling and keep scrolling, knowing that you're looking for a dopamine hit that you might never get. It's like, wait. So, and then selling you things in between. Mm-hmm. Because that's the whole goal of that, is to sell you something. Go on Instagram and you want to realize how many girls are on OnlyFans? Go on Instagram. They're
Say
everywhere.
That again. They're what?
I said, if you want to realize how many girls have an OnlyFans, go on Instagram.
Why is that?
Because there's so many girls that, like, let's say you're going down and there's like videos that you don't follow, but they're just videos. There's one girl in there that's in a bikini somewhere that'll pop up is like an ad for her, because she's paying for you to see that reel. Because she wants you to click on her stuff, to click on her bait to get you to join. So to me, and it's no different than like whatever the next best thing is that you might have been looking up on the interwebs as well. So like, let's say you happen to be on Amazon looking up, rims or, whatever. You're probably going to end up with an ad on Instagram for the same shit. It might not be the same company, but it's something similar to it. Mm-hmm. So it's a selling device. It's a time killer, right? Mm-hmm. And we do it to pass time generally.
Yeah, it's like watching TV, which a lot of people aren't watching as much TV, but they're always on their phone.
But I think that it was a good way to re-meet old friends. So, which is also how you could probably meet people. Because I guarantee you a lot of girls have people dropping in their DMs just off their looks. It's no different than online dating and scrolling to the right or, pushing right.
It happens all the time, like I said. Yeah. And I'm not going for that. I keep everything private. I don't need to know. I don't want people stalking me like that. It kind of creeps me out still.
Yeah. Like I said, I think I'm a paper thin. I'm probably going to make my Instagram private. Because the people that I want following me do. So now I can make it private so no one can just jump in and see my shit. Mm-hmm. But I think that it's just a killer. And heaven forbid you get in the relationship. Let's say you do get past these stages we're talking about. I Look, I see so many couples in a restaurant sitting right across from each other, just scrolling on phones.
Yes.
That is, I spent some time with my friend down the street. We had dinner together at her place and for my birthday. It was the nicest thing I put my phone on her counter and I never picked it up the whole time I was there. If not, maybe once because my son texted me. That was it. It was just talking to each other. And there was other people there. Her daughter was there, blah, blah, blah. So, but it was nice to just not be involved in this doom scrolling nonsense. So I think there's a lot to that, the after meeting somebody. So if you do meet somebody at the bar or church or the club or at the beach, which I think now might be a really good selling point, Tina, I think you kind of, I think on all levels that is kind of, or around water. Let's just say that, because I think that you're right, because you're more likely to be in a social atmosphere without being in a dating atmosphere. So you're probably meeting more of a real person anyway than someone who's out and about looking to get laid.
Yeah, you're right.
That's probably a good idea. I think that might be the takeaway from today. Something around water park, beach, lake, river. There you go. Because I think that there's something to be said in that. So, hey, that's a good closing on that one. Any last words for this week's show?
I think that if you want to meet somebody, you will. If you put out the energy, you'll get what you put out. So if you're disappointed because you're not meeting somebody fast enough, like that's going to show through and you won't meet anybody. So I would say just be open and happy and just go about your life. And if you stay busy doing things, somebody's going to just pop up and be there. Because even though it's going to be over 50% of people are going to be single, there's still 50% that aren't.
That's a good point. That is a very good point. And speaking of not liking social medias, but you can still check ours out on the Facebook, the X, and the Instagram. Soon to be ran by somebody else if I can help it. And yeah, you can check us out on every place you can listen to podcasts, the Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music, pretty much everywhere. I mean, we're in places that I didn't even know because I clicked little buttons on our thing. So
nice.
It's everywhere. And we're now back to getting more people across the world. We got some world ones this past month, and we have somebody in Virginia that's a fan.
Nice.
Don't know who, but somebody.
They can reach out.
Yep, for sure. And it's an opinion show. Don't get it twisted. Keep coming back every Wednesday. That's my co-host over there, Tina. I'm Rob, and we'll see you in a week. Later on.
See ya.